Hey, comrades. Hope you're all doing well. We pick up with Evangelion. What is it? 2.22. You can not advance, which is the second movie in the redo cycle, or whatever it's called. This one, this is where the deviations like truly begin. So in the first movie, if you followed my recap a couple weeks ago, we see that while it's kind of like quickened, not a lot changes. There was a few points that are different, but now it's like the second movie, it is like a whole different thing going on. Like it is the relation to the TV series starts to like be very tenuous. There's some like key points that kind of remain the same, but there's also large portions that are just vastly different in order of things and characters. Like there's brand new characters showing up and all that good stuff. So we open up the movie with a scene, and we're in a totally different place. There's like a similar looking command center as Nerve, but it's different. There's different people here, different things going on. There's a girl of some sort. We don't know who it is. I think the implication is supposed to be like, is this Asuka? because they're like, hey, do you want this in like German or Japanese? Or I think they just say, what language do you want this in? And she's like, Japanese this time. And so she's in like EVA Unit 5, and she's got like a hood, like a helmet on, and she's like super excited. She's like, oh, I'm so pumped. This is so great. I'm so excited to like fight an angel and all this stuff. And then we get some talk. So apparently that angel, the third angel that I was confused about, like where that was or where that was going to come up, comes up right here. So apparently they tracked down the third angel and like took it apart into different pieces or something, and then it like got itself back together. So now it's attacking this like command center here, and so EVA Unit 5 is being deployed to fight it. And so this girl, she pops out, she's fighting it, she's getting beat up pretty good, and then she like gets into like its core enough and sets off its the EVA's like self-destruct, which destroys it. Also Kaji's here, and he's like, oh look, something, and then he gets in like a helicopter to leave, and then we see like the helicopter thingy like flying away, and someone's like, oh, it's unfortunate us adults have to take advantage of like these children to get like the goals that we want. And then we go down, and the girl like gets up out of like the plug, and we see, it's interesting because like in this version, we got this a little bit in the previous, in like the regular series, but in the redo, whenever an angel's killed, there's like a cross, right? Like this big giant cross. So we see two crosses, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, so we see her getting out of the plug, and she stands up, takes off the helmet, and it's a girl with brown hair and glasses. And you're like, that's not Asuka. Who the fuck is this? It's Mari. We get a little bit more of her throughout this movie, but for now we leave her at that. Oh, and she makes this funny comment. She's like, something. It's too bad I got to take advantage of these adults to get it's too bad kids have to take advantage of adults to get like the things that they need taken care of. It's like, awesome. Already, I mean, she's like fun and lighthearted, and she's super adorbs in that while she's in the AV unit waiting to get shot up to fight the angel, she's like super juiced up. Like she's almost like a kid, like a little kid on like all hyped up on sugar. She's like rocking and being like, yes, let's do this. I'm so excited. So it's pretty funny. Then we switch over to the scene from the movie where Shinji is at the grave with his dad, Yui's grave. Not his dad's grave. His mom's grave, Yui, and they have the same conversation about like how he didn't keep anything from her, and that what he wanted to keep was the memories, and so there's not even like a picture of her. And we know as we've seen the series that part of the reason he didn't keep any pictures is because Rei is literally in the image of Yui. And so that's awkward. That comes up a few more times in this movie as we go along. So they have the same conversation. I like this Shinji like 1,000 times better than like the end of Evangelion. Shinji is trash, and then the regular series Shinji, he's okay, but I feel like he gets so much more, like he's so much more of like a normal kid here, in that he has a good relationship, and we see this throughout here with Toji and the nerd guy. Like they hang out, they're excited to see each other. He's like 1,000 times less mopey and crybaby, and even in Asuka's obvious in this issue or this movie. Thank God, because she's the best. She's around, and he acts like far less of like a little bitch around her as well. Like she calls him an idiot a lot. Like she hasn't changed much, but he takes it in a lot more stride and has a lot more confidence in himself. Like that first movie, he actually had some character development. So he went from just being like a total little bitch to being like a lot more confident and feeling more comfortable in the Evangelion. And there's even a comment here at some point when he's fighting one of the angels in the Evangelion where he's like, this feels good. I feel safe and comforted, like something. And we also get the same comment as in the TV series where he mentions that being inside the Evangelion smells like his mom. and also smells like Ayanami because she's just a fucking clone of his mom. Anyway, so after that, his dad takes off, and we see, and Masato's driving him back, and then an angel attacks, and it's like, all right, Ro, it's angel number 7. Let's see, 3. Okay, so 4, 5. Yeah, this would be angel number 7. So it's angel number 7, and it's like this crazy. It's like I've never seen like the 3 and 7. I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing anything like these in the like. It's like the angels are like totally different looking. Anyway, so with number 7 here, and I think part of the reason why is at some point so the humans are angel 18, so they might be going for like more angels in this series, so they don't need to keep the exact same thing, but they've also made like dramatic differences in the way they look somewhat, like the first angel that they fight, the first 2 angels look pretty much just like they do in the TV series, but the third angel I was like, what the fuck is this? And then this angel, it's like a spindly thing with like arms, and it's got this like ball on the head, and then it's like, and then this one of those like jets that carries the Evangelions flies by and drops Ava Unit 2. So there's Asuka. There's no going to a ship, none of that shit. Nothing at all. She's still fighting like on the water, I guess, because this thing's walking on the geofront like this lake. Anyway, Asuka comes flying down, and we don't see Asuka at this point, I don't think. We just see the Eva. We get introduced to Asuka later, but we see the Even unit, and Masato pulls over, and her and Shinji are kind of talking about the battle a little bit. And then the battle's pretty good. She shoots down, fires, breaks the thing apart. Didn't kill it because it wasn't the real core. And then she as she's falling from the sky, she like kicks the core and shatters it, destroying the angel and causing the big like boo. Then Ava Unit 2 is being carried away after the battle. And the boys are all there, like Kaji, not Kaji, the 2 homies for Shinji. They're standing around and they're like, wow, that was so cool. That's Unit 2. It's red. It's radical. And then you hear like a girl's voice and she's like, that's not even the best part. And they all look up and she's like, I'm the best part. Yay, it's Asuka, my favorite. And so then she hops down and she's like, oh, hey, there, because Rei was there with the other Evangelion just kind of standing around. And she's like, something to her, like shit talking. And then she like, which one of you is Akari's son? Or Genda, who, with the nepotism, something. And she's like, it's you. You're an idiot. You should be defending your nation and defending this and doing all that. And he's just like, what? And then she like trips him and then stands on top of him. And he's like, what the fuck is happening? It's so good. And she's like, da-da-da-da-da. I'm Asuka. I'm the best. And she's a captain, apparently. So remember, Masato is a lieutenant colonel. So and Asuka talks about how like Unit 0 is a prototype. Unit 1 was like a test, and that her Evangelion, Ava Unit 2 is like the first real official like Evangelion, like combat centered. And so she's the best, and she can do everything by herself and whatnot. And then we get the scene later on where it's like, okay, cool, they've been introduced, and then he goes home to like where they're at, and there's like full of boxes, and he's like, the fuck's going on here? And then Asuka rolls up, she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I live here. She's like, not anymore, I'm here to take your place. And he's like, what? And then Masato's like standing there because Asuka's like making fun of Japanese homes and how tight they are and how there's no locks on doors. And then Masato, like, Shinji and Asuka like notice her, and they're like, because they're freaking out because mom's back. And then she like rips into Asuka for not understanding like Japanese culture and all this stuff. And then like they're both going to live there because they need to learn how to work together and be a team and whatnot. And then we get like Masato's traditional like drinking a beer and being like, yeah. And then we get a repeat of the scene with Shinji where he comes out of the shower because he sees Pen and he's naked, and then Masato's like, your dick. Only this time it's Asuka naked, and this time Shinji's also there. So she pops out, she's like, what is this? And it's like, that's Pen. And then we see like we can't see her boobs because they're covered with something, and that gets moved, and then it's just like her nipples are covered. It's so good. And then Shinji like he's like cooking dinner, and he turns around and he's like, what's going on? And he's like, ah. And then Asuka notices him, and she's like, ah. So she like jump kicks him. Looking at her naked and calls him a perv. Anyway, so we get some scene. Then we just get some scenes of like them going to school, and it's like it's nice to see like in the TV series. It seems like Tokyo 3 is completely abandoned, but we get a lot of scenes here where it's like there's tons of people around. Like obviously Tokyo 3 wasn't abandoned in the series. We get a couple shots, but there'll be like a lot of shots of the city with like nobody else around, and it was clearly like a budget thing. But now they got a budget, and the animation is superb in this. So we see people going around, going to work. We see lots of trains. We see all sorts of like people living their lives and doing their thing. And then we get the scene in the school. Also, then we see like Asuka interacting with kids at school, and Shinji being concerned about Rei, and Rei looking at like thinking about stuff, and then we get a scene with Shinji. With the scene where Asuka's yelling at Shinji for not making him lunch, and like the homies are coming in, and they're like, "Oh, look at the married couple," and they're like, "What?" Anyway, so Shinji feels bad, and so he makes lunch for everybody. He makes it for Masato, for Asuka, for Rei, and for himself. And so, and Asuka's like very flattered because she thinks Shinji just made her lunch, right? So she's eating lunch by herself, and then the class president comes up and introduces herself to be friends, and Asuka's like, "You can't have any of my lunch." And the animations are so fucking good. Like the way they look, the faces, the movement, it's excellent. This is so good to watch. I'm really enjoying myself with this. So, and then Asuka notices that Shinji brought a lunch for Rei too, and she's like butthurt about that. Oh wait, I think I skipped ahead of something. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, so before this, there's a whole thing where like Asuka, Shinji, Kaji, Koga, I think his name is Toga, and Rei get taken by Kaji to like this floating aquarium essentially. So when the second impact happened, it just like destroyed the water on the whole planet. So there's no more blue water. So a lot of the wildlife died, and so they're preserving the wildlife in some of these like preserves. So this is like an ocean preserve here. And so the kids have to go through this like ridiculous decontamination thing to protect the wildlife, and then they get inside and they can see like real wildlife, like water life, and they're all having a good time. And Asuka keeps looking at Shinji. Shinji's trying to like talk to Rei about stuff, and she's being Rei, just being like quiet and stuff. And then they have like a lunch together. We find out that Rei is a vegetarian, and so Shinji gives her some soup and stuff, and Kaji's just hanging out talking to him about stuff. And at some point, Shinji and Kaji are talking. He's like, well, "It's too bad Masato didn't come," and he's like, "Oh, she wouldn't come." Because I'm like out of order. Because previously to that, we get the scene where he walks into Ritsuko and like gives her like a very sexy hug and talks about banging her. And then Masato's like watching from outside and gets super pissed. And she comes in and she's like, "Asuka's officially part of our team." And we find out here-ish somewhere that there was like a pact with all the countries in the world that each country can only have up to 3 Evangelions. And so they need more support here because they do. Because this is, where everyone's attacking. But they're not going to get it necessarily because... like Europe's already pissed off. They lost Evangelion Unit 5, right, in that Angel attempt. And so Japan trying to get like another one is going to be like a no-go on that. We also get some shots of Gendo and the white-haired guy up in space, like by the moon. There's like some sort of base up there, and they're building some stuff there, and they're talking about the Human Instrumentality Project and stuff. And at some point they see Kuro, who's just like hanging outside, and he calls Gendo his father. He's like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you, father," right? Which clearly he's talking to Adam, who Gendo's probably already like combined himself with. But they're both like, "Huh," right? And then Kaji gives at some point, he brings that thing over. Before it was Adam, but now it's like the key of Nebuchadnezzar, which is instrumental to like the Human Instrumentality Project. Okay. What happens next? Okay, so they do that. Okay, then it's the lunch scenes with all that good stuff. Oh, and then we get a battle. So then, I'm like totally out of sorts. Okay, so then there's an angel coming, but it's an angel in space that's coming down. It's that one with like the crazy wings and stuff. So that it's like Angel 8. But it's like flying in like a meteorite, and it's going to crash into Nerve headquarters and like destroy everything and destroy Tokyo 3 and all this stuff. And they can't intercept it. They sent stuff up into space and hit it with nuclear bombs, like the N2 mines, and they're doing nothing. And then it's going to hit with like a huge impact. And so what they determine they got to do is they got to get all 3 Evangelions to run to catch it, and then one of them can kill it. And Asuka's like, "No, I'll do it by myself." And Masato's like, "You will fucking not do it by yourself. You will die. Like you're all going to work together, and you're going to learn to work together, and you're going to like it. And then there's no way one of you could like hold the thing and open the AT field and stab it, because essentially what happened is like whoever gets there first is going to grab it with their AT field. The next person's going to get there and like open up the AT field, and then the third one's going to stab the core with the knife, and they're all going to work together, and it's going to be awesome. And then we get this sick ass battle where like, okay, so it's the same thing as before. They're all lined up in 3 different areas, and they run, and they're making calculations to try to figure it out. So of course Shinji's the first one to get there, but this time it's way more badass because he doesn't just catch it and hold it. He like catches it, and then arms reach out and grab his hands, the Evangelion's hands, so they crush them, and they start pushing, and there's like like the LCL liquids flying everywhere, and Shinji's in a lot of pain. And then Rei and Asuka finally like catch up and get there, and Asuka's trying to stab it, but she can't do it by herself, right? Because obviously she can't get through the AT field and stab the thing. And so finally Rei runs up and she cracks open the AT field, and the whole time Shinji's like, "Ah!" And it's like the thing's like moving down his arms, like crushing his bones and everything, which is just the Evangelion, but it's like he's feeling all that, right? And then finally Rei gets the thing popped open, and Asuka stabs it, and then stabs all the way through, and it's like all 3 Evangelion, and then the thing collapses on all of them, and it's like explodes in like the goo that covers the whole city, right? Which is badass. And I think this actually happens before. the scene with like the meals and calling him like the wife and stuff. But yeah, it is. It's literally okay. So I skipped like way ahead. I apologize. So in order of events, that's what happens next is in the meal scene with that, and then Asuka's really butthurt about not being able to have defeated the Evangelion by herself, and she's like not used to relying on other people, and that she doesn't know if she can like really live alone anymore now that she's become, that she's done this. And she gets up in the middle of the night and goes to Shinji's room and lays down, and she's like, "Don't turn around." And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta," and then they talk a little bit about why they pilot, and she pilots because I can't remember. Because she wants to, because she loves the thrill of battle or something, and then Shinji to get approval from his dad, and she calls him an idiot like 3 times. We also find out this. Oh, at some point when Shinji's talking to Kaji, we find out that kind of the story of Masato, right? That like her dad worked for Nerve and he was super intense with that, and they got killed during the second impact. And then we see the second impact is not only turned the waters red, but also left this giant eye thing in Antarctica. Like it's this crazy thing because we see it when Gendo and white-haired guy are in space, and it's like and then one of them makes some comment about like, I can't believe some people actually wanted this. And they talk about like Sele and and how they want this order and how they're following like the Dead Sea Scrolls and they don't have access to it. And like, we can't tell exactly what they're going for or what's going on with that. But that Nerve has their own agenda and that hopefully we can beat them out. Get there first. Okay, let me think. So then, so we have some Shinji, Asuka moment. And then Shinji is at school, or he's at Nerve hanging out and then thinking about Asuka mostly, probably. And then Kaji comes over and like gives him coffee and is like, "Hey, you want to go on a date?" And he like is very lurid with him. And Shinji's like freaking out because he's not gay. And then Kaji's like, "Just messing with you, let's go." So he takes him to like his watermelon patch. And this is where he tells him about the second impact stuff. And he's helping him like get the watermelon and talking about his whole thing with Masato and stuff. And they have a lot. There's like none of this stuff that's like Asuka and Kaji, which is nice. Not that I really fucking care or have like concerned about anything like that in that regard, but it's more just like I like the Asuka Shinji relationship a lot better, and I feel like they're doing a good job setting it up here, and so I'm excited to see where that goes going forward. But some other stuff that goes on around this time is Ray's missing school, right? Because she's in that like tube doing whatever. But this time Gendo like invites her to dinner, and so they're eating dinner. And this is after Shinji gave her like a lunch, and she said thank you because she's thinking about like, I've never said thank you to Gendo for anything, and having a meal with somebody and doing stuff. And so she's talking to him about like, is it nice to have a meal? Is it nice for him to cook? Do you enjoy? And like asking him a lot of questions. And at some point she's like, would you want to have dinner with your son? And he's like, I don't know, or like, no. And then he's looking at Ray, but he gets a vision of like Yui because it's a clone, right? And she's like, take care of Shinji for me. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, let's have dinner with Shinji at some point. We also get our second taste of Mari. Shinji's hanging out in a building, like the building of the school, just like chilling, looking off into the distance, when all of a sudden this girl comes parachuting in. And lands right on top of him. And she's like, "Oh, hey, my bad. Sorry, this is supposed to be a secret, so please don't tell anybody." Oh, man, Euro Command's going to be so upset. And then she, like, takes off. Good stuff, Mari. You're the best. Things continue to proceed at the extremely brisk pace that this show likes to go. I usually watch this shit as, like, a side at 2 times speed, and, like, I'm not going to lie. It's like hard to keep up. Maybe I gotta stop doing that because this thing already moves like breakneck pace. So next up, we have the explosion and the destruction of the 5th Eva in America, and like everyone's chit-chatting about that and talking about all that craziness. We then get a scene with Shinji hanging out with Toji, and like the homies. And they're talking about how the sister's getting better and things are going on. And then the buddy's like, "Hey, so what's the deal with Ava Unit 3? So, the destruction of Ava Unit 4. Ava Unit 5 was destroyed by Mari in America. Or no, I think she was in Europe. Yeah, she was in Europe. So Ava Unit 4 it gets destroyed because they were trying to figure out like a new power source, and the power source like did whatever, and so it got destroyed, right? Hypothetically speaking, right? It could be possible that it's the Angel that invades Ava Unit 3 because back in Japan, as I just discussed, they are down like all Evangelions. Like Unit 0 can kind of function, 2's okay, 1 is like needs some serious repairs, right? But they're all kind of damaged in a way that if they get attacked, there's not much you're gonna be able to do. So I think it was, I think it's Europe sends AV Unit 3, which is interesting because there was a whole conversation earlier about how they lost 5, and so now they're like down a bunch. But to be able to utilize 5, they have to deep freeze 2 for some reason, which was odd in my opinion, because you had AV Unit 0 right there, and 0 is a prototype, so why would you use 5? 5, possibly because they wanted to use Asuka for AV Unit 3, which ends up being the case. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. We get a very cute little scene where we see so Rei, who's is starting to get like infatuated with Shinji, brings him because he's like nice to her and talks to her and stuff, which is like the bare minimum a human being should do to another human being, not even like somebody who's interested in another human being. So poor Rei. Anyway, so she makes him lunch. And then Asuka gets like super jealous because she's like, oh, thanks, that's so great, blah, 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 blah. And then she wants to invite everybody to like, she starts putting out invitations to invite, like, it's not just like a dinner with Rei and Shinji and his dad. It's like everybody. It's like a dinner party, and she's going to cook everything and whatever. And she invites Asuka. And then Asuka's like at home because, and she's like, I don't know if she's a terrible cook, but she's trying to figure it out. And we get the scene where she's just wearing like bra and panties and like an apron. They fan service so hard in this show. I love it. I love every second of it. I was like, oh, this is excellent. I would have died to see this when I was 14 years old. Anyway, so she's cooking up, being angry. She's like upset. She's like jealous of Rei's, like Shinji's attention to Rei. She's trying to like win back her man or whatever. And so, and then Masato comes back and she tells her at the dinner party and gives her an invitation. And Asuka's like, And then we have that scene in the elevator, right, where Asuka's like super mad that she has to like work with other people, and she like doesn't like working with other people, and she doesn't like making connections, and she's kind of jealous of Rei. And then she's like, Rei's like, she calls her like a puppet, and there's a whole puppet theme with her, which isn't, or doll, not puppet. I'm sorry. There's like a doll theme. Like we see her playing with the doll, and we see the doll later, and there's like some focus on the dolls. So I don't know what that's going to lead to, because I literally have never seen, I'm talking about the show as it's happening for me. Like I've never seen any of these movies. They're excellent, by the way. I'd highly recommend it to check them out, because each one, like the animation is stellar. The fight scenes are so good. Music's it's still kind of wacky gothic stuff. Like you've seen Fooly Cooly or even the original Evangelion. It's like, what in the world? Anyway, so we're all having a good time here. Oh yeah, so the elevator scene, and so she's yelling at Rei, and then Rei's like, I'm not a doll, yada yada, and then Asuka goes to slap her, and then Rei like grabs her hand, which is different, and they both see that they have like these bandages around their fingers, which is, like injuries from like the prior battle, I would assume, because it looked like Shinji had some of that shit too, where they were all trying to hold this thing up and break through and stuff, and so that's interesting. But then Asuka's essentially like, tell me about you and Shinji. Like, so I really like the Asuka here, because the Asuka in the other version was like the boyhood crush, but this Asuka's like so much more nuanced, and I like the fact that there's like romantic entanglement and like almost like a love triangle kind of situation, as much as like 14-year-olds can have like a love triangle with Shinji and Rei, which makes the whole thing like way more interesting to like be engaged with. So I really appreciate like all the character development and work that's gone into these to make them like different, and to kind of like, I don't know, it's I almost feel like it's like a more pure version of how these characters are, if you will. Like they're more realistic. Like they're acting more like teenagers. Like Asuka being kind of a tsundere is like on point for like a 14-year-old girl, right? Not that all 14-year-old girls are like that, but it's like I have known people when I was like a freshman in high school and such that acted just like that, like very arrogant, stuck up, better than everyone else. And you got to know them later, and they were just like scared to make connections with people because something had happened in their past, right? Like, so that's super realistic in the original show, but this is also realistic, but in like a different way. And I'm starting to think that this is like an alternative dimension sort of thing, because it's like called Redo, but I don't know. It's like so different. So it's not like you're remaking the thing. So I don't know. We'll see if it actually goes anywhere and does anything like really crazy. But yeah, so that's interesting. Okay, so then at some point they're like, okay, we got to find a pilot for us for AVA Unit 3. And they're trying to decide, and it's up to Masato to decide, because she's like the operations commander as like lieutenant colonel. and she's out like drinking with Kaji, so they have a much like healthier relationship. Like clearly they were romantically involved, and that didn't work out. But it's not like he abandoned her and like she's super angry about it. It's just like things, we dated and things didn't work out, so now we're here doing this thing. Is the way it's played off. So they're literally just out drinking, talking, and she's trying to get information from him about the Human Instrumentality Project, AV Unit 3, the dummy plug system, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, well, I don't know that much about that, and don't ask about Sele, because you get pulled into that, and that's like a whole nother mess. And then we get a bit more of like Nerve versus Sele stuff that's going on. So they're trying to figure all that stuff out. Like Gendo's talking about how we have to awaken AV Unit 1 before Sele can get like their stuff going, and if they find out what we're doing, they're going to be pissed and they're going to do something about it and all this stuff, and creating third impact. A lot of this conversation kind of goes on. Anyway, so unfortunately, so Asuka finally gets the call that she's going to be the pilot for AV Unit 3, which is like, of course she is. And then she's like, the test date for like her doing the AV Unit 3 is the same day as the dinner party. And so she seems a little disappointed about that, but she's like, oh, well, this is what I want to do. And then Ray finds out about it too, and she's kind of sad. We don't get that much. We just get her like looking, like hearing about it. And then we get like a shot, right? Because if you remember in the TV series, it was Toji who was AV Unit 3's pilot, and we all know what happened there. And so what's going to happen to Asuka? Well, we'll find out soon. But Toji he gets to hang out with his little sister, and she's like healthy again, and she's like back out of the hospital. It's like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, he didn't have to get pulled into all this like crazy nonsense, which is good for him, because with Asuka, she goes, and everyone else is getting ready for this like the dinner. It's like canceled, or it's just going to be Shinji's dad and Ray or whatever. And then Asuka goes in, they turn the Evangelion unit on, and then she like hears all these like voices and stuff. And then she like loses it, and then she completely desyncs because dun dun dun. AV Unit 3 is now possessed. It's been corrupted by like an angel, and Asuka's done. Like, she's like dunsies for sure. Anyway, so it breaks out and starts going, and so they have to activate AV Unit 1, even though it's not like fully repaired or whatever. And so they get Shinji in there, and they get him built up, and they're like, because at the outpost, there's like, oh, there was an explosion at like the test center, which is away from where Nerve is. So like, we don't know if Masato or Ritsuko or anybody's alive. And then when Nerve, like Gendo, who takes control of the operation because Masato's out of commission, they say that it's AV Unit 3, and they're like, all right, Shinji, go. And they've already installed the dummy unit into AV Unit 2, just like in the TV series. And so when Shinji sees that it's AV Unit 3 and that it's Asuka controlling it, he does the same thing where he just kind of gets beat up for a little bit, because he doesn't want to kill his friend that he has a crush on, right? And so at that juncture, Gendo is like, desync, get the dummy unit in there and have it go nuts, and it does. And it goes nuts. It's a much more fluid battle because the animation's just higher quality, or like, and it's more present, so they have like more better techniques. I don't know. The battle's excellent. The battle in the original was good too, but this one's like, again, it's just like everything kind of flows more, and the Evangelions are much more like agile, it seems. And so the dummy unit like beats the shit out of the unit and like breaks the neck and like destroys it completely. And then Shinji's like, finally, when he's able to like take back control of the AV unit, he climbs up on like the pyramid where like the headquarters is in the Geofront thingy. And he's like stamping on it, and he's like, I'm so mad at you. And his like acting like a real child, which he is. And his dad's like, I can't take any more of this childish nonsense. Flood the thing with the LCL that's going to knock him out. And so they do. And then, it's the whole thing where he's like in prison, and then he has to go talk to his dad. And he's like, I don't want to do this no more. And like, fine, get the fuck out of here. And so he does. So at this point, just like in the regular series, we get Shinji. Shinji's going out. He's done with this junk. He's not going to be a part of this anymore. He's had just about enough of being an Evangelion pilot. Sato tries to talk to him a little bit, but he doesn't want to hear anything about what she has to say. And she has this whole conversation about kind of feeling like she forced him to do things that he didn't want to do because she has her own like holdups about like her dad and their situation, and how she was kind of pushing that on Shinji as well. Shinji's like real broken up about this whole situation because essentially his dad forced him to kill like his girlfriend, or his wannabe girlfriend, right? And killing Asuka and all this stuff. And so he's just like not happy about this whole situation. And, he's super mad, even though his dad's right. Like if he hadn't got the dummy plug to take care of the situation, like that would have been the end of his life. So, mixed results. But it's a 14-year-old boy. He's not going to be totally rational when it comes to these things. It's just not how any of this stuff really works, right? So we get some shots of him like wandering off, getting on a train, getting out of there, just being done with the whole situation, having that conversation with his dad after he gets out of prison, whatnot, right? Masato trying to talk him out of it. Rei just being kind of sad and alone. She can't do anything to talk him out of it either. And again, just all the Evangelions are like pretty trashed at this juncture. They get the dummy plug like set in stone to go since Shinji's not going to be around anymore, and then they don't know what to do with Unit 3's gone, and Unit 0, they're still working on repairing that stuff. And Shinji's like heading out of there on his in like a train, like a subway train or whatever. They get the alert that there's another angel attack, and so they get routed to like a shelter. And this part is a little more like disbelievable because if you followed, it's now like 6 weeks ago or something. Let's see, 4 weeks ago when I covered the anime series. We had an episode about this, and there's like Shinji's in a shelter, and then he runs back to Nerve, and there's like a very tense and whatever. But because the movies here are so quick, the scene where he does like essentially the same thing, he's like in a shelter, and then some more crazy stuff happens. So, of course, that crazy stuff involves the angel attacks, and there's literally no pilots. There's Evangelion 1. AV Unit 1, and AV Unit 1 is just not going to work. Like, it's refusing the dummy plug, it's like fighting back, and then Ikari, like Endo, is like, Yui, what is going on? Like, woman, get back in your place, you do what you're told. Yeah, essentially, right? So he's super mad about that she won't do what she's told, because as we know, we don't get it from this, but again, it's like I agree with the dudes on Reddit and internet and whatever, because if you didn't watch like the original series, you're gonna be pretty confused about a lot of stuff that's going on here, because there's so much information that you should already know before you come into here that really doesn't get explained, or stuff that's like, oh, that's interesting. Like they brought that up way early, but it's all the stuff that is like, it makes sense because I've seen the original series like 5 times. But if I hadn't, it'd be like, I don't understand anything that's occurring right now. Anyway, so then we get Mari. Mari's back, and Mari's like, all right, I'm going to do this. So she climbs down somehow and gets into AV Unit 2 and activates it. And she's like, let's do this, AV Unit 2. And she's super excited. And so then she busts out, and then the angel is like this hardened beast. And it's one of these ones that is like, yeah, we saw this guy before, but he's like way different. This time he's got like this body armor, and he's like, they can't get anything past him. And even Unit 2 is like struggling. Like she pops out and she grabs some guns and she's firing, and the AT field's just like completely stopping her from doing anything. And so she drops that, and then she tries to harden her AT field even more. And she's having a hard time with that. And then she pulls out like a different gun and is firing away at that, and that's not working out too well either, and it's just like a big mess. And so then she starts trying to fight the angel, and that doesn't go too well for her either, like in hand-to-hand combat, it just keeps beating up. And at some point, Rei pops out, right, just like in the other one. She's got the bomb, right, and if you remember from the previous from the series, this fight, instead of Mari piloting AV Unit 2, it was Asuka piloting AV Unit 2, and she was like super mad because she's been like such a failure this whole time. Like she hasn't been able to do anything, and this is like really this fight is what broke her completely. Oh, I forgot to talk about Asuka. I can't believe I did that. She's my favorite. Okay, so Asuka, she was so corrupt. It seems like she's dead. Like they put her in some sort of like contamination center or quarantine sector or something because she was like so corrupted by like the angel or something. I don't know what else to do with her. And so that's like, it seems like she's just like dead, and, but I don't know, it doesn't really like confirm or deny necessarily. Like I said, it talks about this like quarantine zone, how she's gonna be quarantined because of like everything that's going on. So I don't know if I ever find anything about that because of the way this ends, but I'll get there in a second. So Mari's got her big fight, and then Rei comes out just like before, and with like, instead of having like an N2 mine like she did in the series, she's got this big crazy like missile warhead thingy, and she runs and she like punctures through like the AT field of the angel along with help, because Mari comes and helps her, so they team up, right? So they actually are more successful. And then they set this thing off like right into the angel. And it like stops it for a little bit, but it like completely destroys. Well, it doesn't destroy it. They get through the AT field and they blow this thing up, and it's like, it seems like it destroys it, but it doesn't. It thing's like, and it's still like kind of good to go. And so, Mari, and then so it comes back, and then it like beats up Mari, and she crashes into like this shelter where Shinji is, and she's like, "Oh, hey, it's you. You're the first child," or like, "Yeah, you're child number 2, or whatever, child number 3." And what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be piloting Ava? Oh, that's okay if you don't want to. Whatever. You should come with me and check this thing out. It's crazy. You really should come out and help. Blah 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 blah. And he's like, I don't wanna. And it's like, oh, we're back to this Shinji again. That's too bad. I enjoyed other Shinji who had like an ounce of like manhood in him, but I guess he's gone forever. Anyway, so but she convinces him. She picks him up and takes him out, and he sees like everything that's going on. And then we watch the Angel eat Ava Unit 0 with Rei, and that sets Shinji off, right? Because him and Rei, he's making a lot of strides with Rei, and Rei's been so nice to him and like trying to help him get the meal with his dad and all that stuff. And so he's like real butthurt about this whole situation, and having lost Asuka as well. It's like he's lost like his 2 girlfriends. And he doesn't know this Mari chick, but you know, she's like, oh, something. I'm in a lot of trouble. She's great. And it was super fun for me because I've never seen the shows. And then in the Nikkei Goddess of Victory collab with Evangelion, her burst, which is like her super attack, is like from this battle. And it's when, I forgot about that. Yeah. So she runs out of like, she's getting beat up. This is like way earlier. She's getting beat up by the Angel, and things aren't working out well for her. And then she's like, okay, time to do this. And the way she pilots is weird too, because the rest of them are like, they're holding on to these like 2 things with their hands. And they're like moving them around, and that's how they fight and do things. But she just like floats inside this thing, and whatever she does, they tend to do as well. So it's like totally different, which is interesting. I wonder if we'll ever get an explanation about that. But regardless of any of that stuff, she's at some point she's like, all right, unlock secret beast mode, and then it like turns Even Unit 2 into like a berserker, like when Even Unit 1 berserked against Angel number 4, or like when it went berserk a couple other times in like the original, right? Or literally when it went berserk with the S2 plug, with the dummy plug. So that's interesting. So she's got a lot more information than like we are kind of privy to about some of this stuff and how it's functioning and how she's able to use it to her advantage. It doesn't matter though. Because again, like the battle doesn't go their way. This happens like way before Rei even shows up with her bomb or anything like that. So anyway, so Shinji does his whole thing where he like runs back in and he's like, let me pilot Ava Unit 1 again. He's like, I'm going to get Rei back. And so, you know, it's like Gendo's like, I'll out. And so he heads out. And then the Angel's gotten inside like Nerve headquarters at this time, and it's like trying to fuck around and get to Lilith or Adam or whatever. And so at that juncture, he starts fighting with it. He gets it like pulled out of the thing using the elevators and stuff. It goes up. They fight. And then at some point, Shinji's like had enough of this nonsense, and he's like, I want Rei back. And then he starts utilizing. He starts trying to like break Rei out of like the core of the Angel, and there's a whole conversation about how Ava Unit 0 has been merged with the Angel, and which includes Rei, and she's like, my wish is for that not to happen. And then like, Evangelion 1 like starts transcending reality and becoming like a god. Like it really goes off the deep end here, and it like grows like a mystical arm, and there's like all this light, and it starts creating like the 3rd impact. And then Misato and Ritsuko are talking about how like Shinji's wish, like the Evangelion's awoken to like deliver a wish, like one wish to Shinji, which is like kind of how the end of Evangelion went, like not the movie, but like the show, because it was like his wish that like all humanity would be able to like live and be happy and be at peace and not have to do all this like bullcrap or whatever, right? There's some aspect of that to it. And so, but his wish is to like rescue Rei, and Rei's like, leave me, like, don't do this, like, you're only gonna hurt yourself, you can't save me, something. He's like, no, I will save you, it's impossible, like, I'll make it happen. So like he gets his wish, right? And so then we get this whole scene where she's like sitting, like her spirit form is sitting inside like the Angel's core, and he like reaches in and he like reaches for her hand, and he's like in some sort of spirit form, and there's like wings growing out of the back of the Ava, and like the same kind of like eye looking thing that happened during Second Impact is happening. And Gendo and the white-haired guy are like super excited about the whole situation because they're like, we did it. Evangelion's awakening. It's bringing like human instrumentality and something. And like, now what are the guys at Sealy going to do now? Those jerks. Well, they're going to be so mad. and they combine, and then it create, and then like there's like this giant, it's like the giant ray thing, but it's like the light, and there's like all this, it's like completely wild. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like wild stuff, and then it's like the whole world starts to like explode. And then Ritsuko or Misato's like, this wish brings about like the end of the world. And then it ends. And I'm like, that was dope. Like, I don't even know what happened. It was so dope though. Man, I loved, this movie was fantastic. We got Asuka and, panties in a freaking apron. We got her being sassy and cute. We got Shinji being somewhat of a man. We get like, oh my gosh, we get Rei not just being a block of wood for the entire thing. We get some cool battles. We get just like nutso Evangelion stuff, like from end of Evangelion or the end of the series and whatnot. Nothing like the end of Evangelion movie is like absolutely out of your mind. Like I feel like you got to be like completely stoned out of your rocker to like be like, all right, I'm jonesing for this. Like, it's so wild. So I don't know what to say about it. I talk about it more in my review of the series at the end, which is 4 weeks ago again at this point. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of what is it called? Evangelion 2.22. You cannot advance, I want to say. Yeah, because I think the 333 is you cannot redo. And then the fourth movie is like 3.01 plus, it's like stupid naming convention, 1.01 or something. It's just 4. Just call it 4. Like, what is this stupid nonsense? Anyway, yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm enjoying this like redo series a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was going to be more of just like, all right, we'll see where this goes. But it's like so wild. It takes like the stupid anime book. So all the mecha battles are just better because the Evangelions they're better. They're like more agile and they can get around better. And it's just like they're more frenetic. Yep, and more intense. And they were good. That's the thing. It's not like they were bad. It's not like they really needed improvement. Like if I'd never seen this, I would be perfectly satisfied with like everything that had occurred in the series. But thus far, these battles are like way fun. Like they're super fast, super frenetic. The animation's fantastic. I like how they've made Shinji less of like a little, bitch. And there's no other way to put it. And I like how Asuka's got more of like a personality and not just like tsundere times 500. Right, which is nice, and she still got it, and but there's like a whole moment. I think I brought this up. Shoot, I think I forgot. There's a whole moment before she goes off to like test Eva Unit 3, where she calls Misato, and she's like, "Hey, Misato, I was thinking about what we were talking about, and I really appreciate you like looking out for me, and like I just feel like I need to unload some stuff off my chest, and like." It's just like, it's hard because like I have feelings about things and like I just want to be alone, but at the same time I don't want to be alone and I just don't know what to do. And it's like awkward for me and it's hard for me to like deal with these emotions and feelings and stuff. And Masato and him they have a really good talk. And then we see her like her gotcha skin from Nikkei, which she wears, which is like super revealing. Like I can't even describe to you. That's like, this is like close to being completely indecent. Kind of revealing. And she mentions it in the show. She's like, is this suit? She's like, in this suit. And Masato's like, what's wrong with the suit? And she's like, I just feel like it's a little much. It's a little more like, like it's a little indecent. Which it for sure is. It's like see-through orange, right? Anyway, I like it. But I'm a little dirty pervert. Anyway, So yeah, so that was great, right? It was a nice little moment of Asuka before she's like dead forever. I mean, I assume she's not dead forever. I've seen some like shots of her with like an eye patch, specifically from Nikkei Goddess of Victory, the collab. So I'm assuming like one of these other movies will like deal with that issue. So yeah, but it was really good. And so yeah, so a couple weeks join me. We'll do Evangelion 3.33, which is I think it's like you cannot redo. No, I think that's the last one. Is the next one advanced? I thought this one was advanced. Well, whatever it is, it's the next one. And so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later. Hope you have a good one. And it's in my pocket, so it's going to take a second to stop the recording. Okay, cool. Catch y'all later.